Hey everyone, it's Abby from Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you are doing super well today. We are working today on getting all of our members who signed up for a mastermind group into the right mastermind group for them. So that's been super fun. I've been working with my colleague Kate on that. And we are here, of course, for our member spotlight, which we do each Wednesday at this time. And today we are going to be speaking with Lauren, who has an incredibly cool business. It is called Wearing History. So think about that for a second. What do you think it is? You're probably right. So she creates historical sewing patterns and garments. And then Lauren, I see you're here. So I'm going to see if I can let you in and we will get to. I, as a history major undergraduate, love this business and think it's super cool. Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Are we good? How are you?
We're good. It's great to see you. I was just watching you on YouTube. You can get yourself adjusted there.
Yeah,
That's
I've
pretty
never done
good.
this before. This is a first joining a live video. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. Yeah, once you've done one of these lives, you'll be like pro and then you'll want to do them all the time. So it's a very cool experience. And thanks to everybody who's joining us now to chat a little bit. So Lauren, I was just saying the name of your business is so descriptive, Wearing History. I love what you're doing. And I
Thank
wondered
you.
if you like have always been into historical garments and costumes or whether you got into this or how you got into this, I guess, because I think it's just super cool. Like, I wondered whether you felt like maybe you were born in the wrong era.
Oh, no, I am very happy to be living today with all of the things that we have today and the equality that we're working towards today. I
Absolutely.
in the past.
Amen
However,
to that.
really love historical fashion. And I think that the history of everyday people, no matter what their background, is super fascinating. So wearing history for me is more about like embracing how we got to now and reclaiming past styles for current times. Although I do love history and I love learning about history, I'm very happy to be born today.
Right. Okay. Yes, I can definitely understand that. So, how did you first learn how to sew? And then what was your first sort of introduction into historical sewing patterns?
My cousin taught me how to sew. So she is, my mom and her sister had quite an age gap. So my cousin is older than me. And she was really into Renaissance fairs. So from being a child, she taught me how to hand sew Renaissance costumes. And she could literally just look at fabric and cut out a shape and it would fit. It was incredible. So she was my inspiration for learning how to sew. And she helped me sew for my American Girl dolls back in the day too. So that's
That's
kind of
awesome. I feel like it's either Barbie or American Girl dolls that we all sewed for. So that's awesome to
well,
hear.
first Barbie and then American Girls because I'm
Yeah.
40s now, so that was the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and totally. And they have such a cool connection to the past too. Like, they're all historical dolls. So you kind of get that, that introduction a little bit. And so how did you get into making historical? I mean, I guess that was historical costumes for Renaissance fairs. So did you just sort of like keep going from there?
I did, and when I was trying to decide what to go to school for, I really gravitated towards doing costuming for film because I wanted to do like really in-depth, detailed historical costume. But once I was in school and I learned more about the film industry, I'm like, it's not really my thing. So I got my fashion degree, and then I thought I was going to make historical inspired bridal. But
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I really enjoy working with clients one-on-one, so that didn't work so well. So then through a historical costuming hobby group, I met people that worked at the San Diego Opera. So that's how I got into the costuming for that, and then La Jolla Playhouse. And then in between seasons, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because you only work like 3 to 6 months out of the year. And I thought, well, Etsy seems to be really taking off. Maybe I can use some of my historical archives and make it accessible to people. And so I researched all like what was in public domain and how to do that, and that's how I got to where I am. I started making sewing patterns for other people to start making things for themselves.
Right. Okay. So there are, I mean, sewing patterns have a fantastic history, and I love, reading about sewing history. And so there are a lot of quite old sewing patterns. And so are you taking those patterns, like digitizing them, updating maybe the instructions in some way, or what are you doing to your sort of archive to create them and make them new for today's market?
Yeah, so depending on what faction of wearing history it is, like I have some that are called Restovival, which is more like vintage, and then I have Archive Couture, which is more like, I have one here, like super ancient stuff, you know,
Yeah.
90s. So for example, for something like this is the new cape pattern. Let me see if I can switch over here. So this is my 1890s cape pattern. I came out with it, I think in December, November, I don't remember. But it originally came from a sheet that looked like this.
Oh
So
my gosh.
overlapping
Wow.
shapes,
Look
and
at that.
the dressmaker would trace it off. And then behind me, I have more like what it looks like towards the end, which is a traditional multi-size pattern. So in this case, I took an original source material like that, and I fit it to a modern dress form, which I use this one here, and then I adapted the pattern that way. Now, other things, if it's super niche, like I'll be like, this is a super rare, like once you get to 100 years old, it's very uncommon to find multiples of a sewing pattern because they were meant to be disposable. So like someone randomly had it in an attic and then I have it, I might have the only one that exists in the entire world. And so here's the original period source material exactly as it was published for super nerds like me that want to geek out and learn new techniques from history.
Right. And so with your dress form, I mean, I know like sizing has changed.
Right.
And over the course of 100 years, much less 50 years, 10 years, you know, sizing has changed. So is your dress form like today's sizing, and are your patterns today's sizing, or how do you work with sizing?
So most of my patterns are off of the historical pattern shapes, which means that it was for the figure of that time period. But if I've adapted it to a modern form, then I will note it in the instructions. So my patterns kind of go all over the place depending on my mood. I'll be like, this is original period source. And this one is adapted for modern bodies. So it should say in description what it is. I have too many interests and I'm all over the place. But this form is an Alva form, which is based on body scans. So I have one of these, and then I have a plus size girl that's over there, and I'm hoping to do more of those in the future.
Okay,
So,
that's cool. And do people ever come to you and are like, I have this sewing pattern that I found at this estate sale, or I've always wanted this particular thing, this particular, could you make a pattern? And do you do that sort of thing? Or are you like, no, I just do what what I'm interested in, and I'm not like taking custom pattern requests?
I have had some people that have let me reproduce some of the originals in their collection that are super rare, and I'm open to that. I do have thousands of historical patterns in my collection, so I don't necessarily need more source material, but I'm always open to that possibility. And I think it's really exciting to work with other collectors that have rare patterns, that I can make them more accessible, because I really think that they're articles that are meant to be used. Like they were not meant to sit in a drawer. They're supposed to be made, and people are supposed to, it's like we've lost a lot of technology, the hands-on technology, like the working with your hands of the past, and patterns and clothing has gotten a lot more simplified, which is great for learning how to sew, but sometimes you want to like, well, what did we lose over the last 100 years? What can I adapt that is a historical way of making things that can come to modern times and really elevate my sewing? So it's a combination of both of those things that's really interesting, I think.
And can you give us an example of one of those things that we've sort of lost if we just came into sewing as a modern person and sort of don't even realize that this was something, a technique or a way of doing things that was in the past that sort of we skip over now because we can just, run it on the machine or whatever it is?
Totally. So like on this one, I made a bunch of bias bound buttonholes, and I have some videos on my website. So that's not really a historical thing, it's more vintage. But until I came across that in a 1950s pattern, I never even thought about using the bias of a fabric to bind a buttonhole. And once you think about it, it makes so much sense, because you're like, I use bias binding for a neckline. Why would I not use it for a buttonhole? Just simple little things like that. And then another technique that I find really interesting is lapped seams. So to get those really crazy Art Deco designs where they would have insets, they would actually turn under the seam allowance and then lap it on top and then top stitch it. So when I was starting sewing, I would try to do all these vintage things, and I'd be like, this just looks wonky. Like if it ended up all like wiggly and everything, and the lap seam totally changes that and makes it more accessible. So
yeah, it's so cool. And I feel like in some ways you're like in conversation with people from the past while you're following their instructions to make something that they made. And in some ways it's like following a historical recipe and then trying that food, which maybe tastes different from anything that we've made now. And plus they used to write recipes differently than they do now, right? Less exacting and all of that sort of, because people knew how to make things in a way that we sort of don't now.
Totally. Like some of the old patterns, it's like basically a picture of the finished garment. It's like, good luck and Godspeed. Like, that's about
Go for it, but no instructions. And now it's like we have these step-by-step, video tutorials and everything, which is awesome, but it's just like that sort of assumed knowledge base has changed.
Totally. And with the older ones, I try to like be like, here's what you got, and then here's how you get there. So even if it's just text only, I'll try to like break down, like do this part, then do this part, then do this part. So it's not like cut it out and sew it together at the end.
Right. No, 100%. And can you tell us about, or maybe show us a few other things, or tell us about like a favorite historical garment that you've made that you always sort of think back to and love?
Well, I don't actually have any examples of that on hand, but I will tell you what my most popular pattern is.
Oh, lovely. Perfect.
So this is my smooth sailing pattern, and it is my #1 seller, and it was one of the first patterns I came out with. And 2020, I felt like the world was ending and I needed to do something positive, so I came out with it in extended size. So that is my most popular pattern.
Nice. And it's a blouse and slacks that go together, and it's kind of got like it's like a sailor vibe or theme. Is that right?
It's just like high-waisted pleated pants that they would wear everywhere. And I did draft the pants myself. So they started as a vintage original, and then I was like, oh, this is wonky. And like, not always is history better, like, as we know, but not only is it vintage sewing, it's not always better. Like
Right.
some, ooh, these pants look like MC Hammer. Maybe I want them to actually like not be down to my knees in the crotch. So the smooth sailing is an adaptation of the vintage, but stylistically more flattering for a modern figure.
Wonderful. That is so cool. This is so cool. I love your business. I love what you're doing. I think it's amazing. People can find you on YouTube and watch some of your videos, see you modeling some of the clothes and also making the clothes if they're interested. And where else can they find you? Kind of what else do you have to offer for people who want to like learn more and go check it out?
So I'm wearing history on Instagram. If you're on here, you know. I'm wearing history on YouTube. I have wearing history on Facebook. I have a wearing history sewing group on Facebook. So if you look up wearing history patterns, sew and tell, I'm on there. You can share and ask questions. And I'm wear history on Pinterest because wearing history was taken. And I don't know where else I am, but you can find me if you follow me. I'll link stuff that's going on.
You got like the perfect business name. It like encompasses exactly what you do, which is what I love. It's so memorable. It's like really easy to identify. So Lauren, this has been fantastic. And I hope people come and check you out. I was so happy to learn more about you and have a chance to talk with you.
Likewise, and thank you so much for everything you do. Your podcast has gotten me through so many difficult times by looking forward to the future and seeing how many opportunities there are. So everybody that's come on and shared their experience and how they've gotten in the niche has been so inspiring for me. I'm just thrilled to be on today. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. That's so great to hear. I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone who joined us. See you next week for our next Member Spotlight. Bye.